Hey there. I'm sorry to hear about your track coach. That's really terrible, and I know you and your team are going to be hit by that pretty hard. And I want you to know if there's anything I can do to help from here. If you want to Skype or talk all about it, I'd love to. Let me know. Please send me a text. I just want to make sure you're okay. I know it'll be hard and frustrating to keep cycling through that, especially with the whole group being hit like that. But you guys can do it. I know you can. That's just absolutely terrible news to hear. I mean, it's hard for me to hear, let alone I'm sure you are very much frustrated and upset by this, and worried about your teammates too. And I'm sure they appreciate the attention and Christy you're giving them. Just make sure to take little Christy for yourself. And if you feel spread too thin, I'm always here to talk to. Alright? Okay. Tonight, I'm thinking we could read a little more of old Possum's book of Practical Cats. Maybe not too much, because I'm not feeling too well and I don't want to push the evening. But here we go. Of the awful battle of the peaks and the pollicles, together with some account of the participation of the pugs and the palms and the intervention of the great rumpscat. The peaks and the pollicles, everyone knows, are proud and implacable, passionate foes. It is always the same wherever one goes, and the pugs and the palms, although most people say that they do not like fighting, will often display every symptom of wanting to join in the fray, and they bark, 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 until you can hear them all over the park. Now, on the occasion which I shall speak, almost nothing has happened for nearly a week, and that's a long time for a pole or peak. And the big police dog was away from his beat. I don't know the reason, but most people think he'd slipped into the bricklayer's arms for a drink, and no one at all was about on the street when a peak and a pollicle happened to meet. They did not advance or exactly retreat, but they glared at each other and scrapped their hind feet, and started to bark, 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 until you could hear them all over the park. Now the peak, although most people say what they please, is no British jog, but a no British dog, but a heathen Chinese. And so all the peaks, when they heard the uproar, some come to the window, some come to the door. They were surely a dozen, more likely a score, and together they started to grumble and wheeze in their huffery, smuffery heathen Chinese. But a terrible din is at pollicles alike, for your pollicle dog is a dour Yorkshire tyke, and his braw Scottish cousins are snappers and biters, and every dog jack of the notable fighters, and so they stepped out with their pipers in order, playing When the Blue Bonnets Come Over the Border. Then the pugs and the palms held no longer aloof, but some from the balcony, some from the roof, drove into the din with a bark, 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 until you could hear them all over the park. Now when those bold heroes together assembled, the traffic all stopped, and the underground trembled, and some of the neighbors were so much afraid, they started to ring up the fire brigade, and suddenly up from a small business flat, why, who should talk out but the great rumpscat? His eyes were like fireballs, fearfully blazing. He gave a great yawn, and his jaws were amazing. When he looked out through the bars of the area, you never saw anything fiercer or hairier. And what with the glare of his eyes and yawning, the peaks and the pollicles quickly took warning. He looked to the sky and gave a great leap, and they, every last one of them, scattered like sheep. And the police dog returned to his beat. There wasn't a single one left in the street. We'll do one last one, because we're almost on the book. I'll have to find something more. Mr. Mistopheles. You ought to know Mr. Mistopheles, the original conjuring cat. There can be no doubt about that. Please listen to me and don't scoff. All his inventions are off his own bat. There's no such cat in the metropolis. He holds all the patent monopolies for performing surprising illusions and crafting eccentric confusions. At prestidigitation and at legerdemain, he'll defy examination and deceive you again. The greatest magicians have something to learn from Mr. Mistopheles' conjuring turn. Presto, away we go, and we all say, "Oh, well, I never was that ever a cat so clever as magical Mr. Mistopheles." He is quiet and small, he is black, from his ears to the tip of his tail. He can creep through the tiniest crack, and he walk on the tiniest rail. He can pick any card from a deck, he is equally cunning with dice, he is always deceiving you into believing that he's only hunting for mice. He can play any trick with a cork, or a spoon and a bit of fish paste, and if you look for a knife or a fork, and you think it is merely misplaced, you have seen it in one moment, and then it is gone, spelt with a W. Gone! But you'll never find it next week lying on the lawn, and we'll all say, "Oh, well, I never was there ever a cat so clever as magical Mr. Mistopheles." His manner is vague and aloof. You would think there was nobody shyer, but his voice has been heard on the roof when he curled up by the fire, and he's sometimes been heard by the fire, and when he was about on the roof. At least we all heard him, somebody who purred, which is incontestable proof. At least we all heard somebody who purred, which is incontestable proof. As I reread the line. Of his singular magical powers I have known the family to call him in from the garden for hours while he was asleep in the hall. And not long ago this phenomenon produced 7 kittens out of a hat. And we all said, "Oh, well, I never. Did you ever know a cat so clever as magical Mr. Mistopheles?" And let this focus, but there he is, with his kitties. I'm fuzzy. Very fuzzy. But not the good kind of fuzzy. Oh, we're back. So, love, please, by all means, send me a text message me, if you want to Skype or talk or anything. I'm right here, and I'd really love to. I love you dearly. Sleep well, keep calm, find a llama, carry on. Keep cycling. I love you so much. Oh, I just want to give you a hug right now. Try and make it all better. I love you, Christy. 1. He says knowing. I just want to hear your voice again. 1, 2, 3. I love you, Christy. Good night.